In the deep, dense forests of Alaska, a unique ops group is on a thrilling venture. They're chasing something unknown, something they are able to handiest name IT. The trees are tall, the air is bloodless, whilst a terrible sound makes their hearts race. What did they hear that made them so terrified? Join us as we find the hidden fact so one can exchange the way you think about nature forever. Back inside the cold month of February 1994, a fellow named Miles led a group of surprisingly skilled infantrymen on a hush-hush undertaking deep within the heart of Alaska's wintry landscape. This wasn't just any schooling. Known as strategic reconnaissance, this mission required the group to sneak around undetected, collecting vital details about what any capability enemies is probably up to. They had to do all this without being spotted, a tough job made even tougher through the freezing situations. Equipped with go-i-do skis and careworn with backpacks loaded with tents, geared up to consume meals and all kinds of tools to maintain heat, they were there to sharpen their abilities beneath intense situations. The placing became a remote, closely wooded location to the east of Eielson Air Force Base, close to Fairbanks. With a challenging 3 days laid out in the front of them, the group of 11 soldiers had to navigate through the rugged terrain. Their course took them up steep ridges, down slopes, and throughout marshy lowlands, all even as preserving a stealthy presence. As they trudged through this wild, snowy surroundings, they encountered in a particularly thick patch of wooded area. Eiles, continually wondering in advance, proposed a small exploration to see if they might find a manor through or if it might be higher to head around. He and others donned their snowshoes and delved into the dense woods. Deep in the forest, they stumbled upon an unexpected find. Large footprints in the snow, every measuring about 18-19 inches long, with an amazing stride duration of about 5 feet. This discovery became fascinating, to say the least. Curious, they determined to look simply how those strides in comparison to a human's effort in such deep snow. One soldier took off his snowshoes and attempted to healthy the stride. Despite his exceptional efforts, he sank knee-deep with each step, handling handiest 1.5 feet of compared to the 5-foot strides of the extraordinary prince. They measured the footprints cautiously, noting their easy edges and the absence of any drag marks or disturbed snow around them. This unusual discovery honestly gave them something to reflect on, consideration on, as they continued their reconnaissance mission inside the silent, snowy wilderness. The crew sergeant, who became truly excellent at monitoring, took a close look at the large footprints they determined inside the snow. From the length and depth of these prints, they guessed that whatever made them changed into massive, about 9 ft tall and weighing somewhere among 500 and 700 kilos. This discovery changed into so fascinating that the team decided to comply with the tracks similarly, eager to see in which they led and learn more about this big creature. The footprints showed a course that skillfully crossed over mountain ridges, tucked away underneath the duvet of thick timber, and wove via the damp, marshy lowlands. The creature seemed to recognize how to circulate quietly and live out of sight, the use of strategies much like the ones the infantrymen had been educated in. As the team followed the path, the daylight hours commenced to vanish, and the cold night air settled in. They stopped to set up their campsite for the night, heating up their prepackaged meals and rolling out their sound-asleep luggage for a few relaxation underneath the open, starry sky. But the peace became quick-eyed. At approximately 4 a.m., Miles became all of a sudden awoke via a legitimate that appeared like a wolf howling in the distance. As he lay listening, the howl converted into a noisy, echoing roar that reverberated off the surrounding hills. Then he heard the distinct noise of something huge moving through the forest, getting louder as it neared their camp. The sound stopped unexpectedly about 100 toes away, and then all became silent. Soon there was the noise of something pacing from side to side, snapping branches and rustling through the underbrush. The rest of the soldiers stirred, unzipping their tents to concentrate greater intently to the unsettling sounds. And the satisfactory part is but to come back. The abnormal noises continued for numerous long minutes earlier than stopping. Then, a chilling mixture of a howl, roar, and scream pierced the nighttime, sending shivers down anyone's spine. They flashed their lighting round inside the darkness, seeking to trap a glimpse of some thing changed into out there. However, saw nothing. Realizing they had no ammunition, seeing that this turned into a schooling exercise and now not a fight scenario, they felt absolutely prone. Miles determined they might as well keep up and leave the place as quickly as it turned into mild. However, before sunrise even broke, some other alarming sound shook them. A tree being pushed over. They noticed motion inside the treetops, observed through the loud crack of the tree breaking and falling. They hurriedly packed up their tools. Before they left, Miles and any other soldier determined greater big footprints and a niche wherein it seemed the creature were transferring around a lot. They additionally discovered a large, lifeless pine tree, approximately 12 inches in diameter and 35 feet tall, that had been snapped in half cleanly. As the solar came up and that they quick left, Miles could not shake the feeling that their adventure was just beginning. The government map clued, deciding it changed into satisfactory to hold this whole revel in. To themselves, to keep away from any complications or disbelief from others, they agreed not to talk about it. However, Miles could not stop considering what could have been if they had persevered to observe the tracks. Later, Miles had a conversation with Anthony, a neighbor from northeastern Washington, who stated the Fairchild Air Force Survival College. They difficulty topographical maps with survival hints that encompass a section on risky animals. And curiously, these maps actually have an illustration of a sasquatch. This small piece of authentic popularity made Miles' sense barely demonstrated in maintaining their encounter underneath wraps. Miles frequently located himself questioning about the big creature they'd tracked. Could it sincerely had been a Sasquatch? The notion lingered in his mind. In particular, thinking about the authorities' maps seemed to renown such creatures ought to exist. Sasquatch, regularly known as Bigfoot, is that massive furry creature that a few people assume lives within the forests of North America, especially inside the Pacific Northwest and Western Canada. The word Sasquatch comes from sasquatch, which is a term from the Stata community, which means wild man or furry man. In many indigenous cultures across North America, this creature is more than only a story. It is an element of their heritage. They see it as a protector of the woodland and a being that could circulate among the bodily, global, and the religious world. The first time human beings started out speaking approximately Sasquatch in North America became way lower back in the past to 1800s. One of the earliest memories appeared in an 1884 newspaper article from Victoria's British colonist, which talked about the capture of a creature, 1/2 guy, half of beast, close to Yale, British Columbia. They named it Jacko and described it as looking a lot like a gorilla with masses of thick black hair. Even though humans nevertheless debate whether or not this story turned into proper, it sparked a variety of interest in this creature. In the 1900s, more testimonies began shooting up. For example, in 1924, close to Mount St. Helens, miners said they had been attacked by large apes. These memories made the newspapers, and more humans have become interested in Sasquatch. By the 1950s, human beings began calling it Bigfoot. This passed off after a few loggers in California discovered simply big footprints close to Bluff Creek. The name Bigfoot got here from a newspaper article in 1958 that pointed out these footprints. Even though there had been masses of sightings and tales, no one has solid evidence that Sasquatch absolutely exists. People who say they have seen it describe it as a very tall, two-legged creature protected in darkish hair everywhere from 6 to 15 toes tall. Some say it smells bad and has glowing eyes. There had been footprints found which are incredible big, like 24 inches long and 8 inches extensive. However, a variety of those have been verified to be fake. One of the maximum famous pieces of proof is the Patterson-Gimlin film from 1967. It suggests what seems like a huge furry figure taking walks via the woods in Bluff Creek, California. Some humans think this video is real proof of Bigfoot, but others say it's simply a person in a fancy dress. Sasquatch is not only a spooky story, it's a massive part of popular lifestyle too. It's been in lots of books, movies, and TV suggests. Take the 1987 movie Harry and the Hendersons as an example. It suggests Sasquatch as a friendly massive who becomes a part of a human family. That's a nicer manner to consider this creature. Stay tuned to discover extra about this. There are all sorts of legends about Sasquatch in Native American subculture. For the Sisales humans, seeing a Sasquatch approach you inside the right vicinity at the proper time, the Haida human beings have a tale about Kayiksid, a wild guy who turns into a supernatural being after you have misplaced Sas within the wooded area. The Coast Salish human beings speak about Sasquess, creatures that roam the forest at night. Even without scientific evidence, the tale of Sasquatch keeps to live on, thanks to countless stories from individuals who say they have visible it and the cultural importance it holds.